Micromanaging my lunch break? Enjoy the extra paperwork, by User Critical Depth 420. Hey folks! I have a story of malicious compliance that I think you'll appreciate. This happened at my previous job, where my manager was the definition of a micromanager. At this job, we had an hour for lunch, but the break room was small, so people usually staggered their lunch breaks. It was an unspoken rule that as long as you didn't take more than an hour and your work didn't suffer, no one really cared when you took your lunch. That was until our new manager, let's call him Dave, stepped in. Dave decided that he needed to control when everyone took their lunch breaks. He created a strict schedule, assigning each person a specific lunch hour. My assigned time was right in the middle of my most productive part of the day, which was super frustrating. I decided to follow the new lunch schedule, but I also decided to take full advantage of my rights as an employee. You see, our company policy stated that any work done during our lunch break was considered overtime and needed to be compensated. So, I started to accidentally schedule meetings, calls, and tasks during my lunch break, making sure to meticulously document every minute of work I did. Then, at the end of the week, I'd submit a detailed overtime report to Dave, showing him all the extra work I did during my lunch hour. Dave was furious, but he couldn't deny my overtime requests without violating company policy. After a few weeks of paying me extra for work that I would have gladly done during my regular hours, Dave scrapped his strict lunch break schedule and let us go back to our old system. Okay boss, I will hit my KPIs, by user Leto in. This story came from 5 years ago when I worked for a small IT MSP company. We had 4 full-time techs, with the newest tech having about 5 years of experience and me being the most seasoned tech with nearly 15 years of experience. Between the 4 of us we managed about 1,000 PCs and about 20 servers spread out over about 30 clients. None of us were assigned to a specific client, we would all take turns grabbing whatever tickets came in. All of our work was lump sum or contract work, so we never had to worry about how long a problem took to fix or how much it would cost the client. We had an account manager who handled all the billing and things with the clients. It was a dream job for a tech, we got to show up and do our jobs and not have to deal with sales or billing any other client drama. I not only had the most experience but was also the most self-motivated. I would often come in early and get started on the tickets that came in after hours, and I would assist the other techs if they came across a complex problem. Everyone, including the owner, referred to me as the senior tech, even though that wasn't my title. After 2 years working there, I decided to talk to the owner about a raise. I brought all kinds of information to our meeting, showing that I closed the most tickets and received the most positive feedback from a survey we sent our clients. He agreed to give me a raise, but said he wanted to think about how much to give me and that he would get back to me. A few weeks later, he called a company meeting and announced that he had decided to change some things and that he would no longer be giving anyone raises. Instead, he would set up KPIs, key performance indicators, and the entire tech team would receive weekly bonuses based on hitting those numbers. I didn't like this at all, as it meant my pay was dependent on the performance of everyone on the team and not just me. I found out later one of the other techs had also asked for a raise, so this was the owner's solution to pay us less. The KPIs were simple enough. If a ticket came in, we had to acknowledge it within 15 minutes to achieve a score of 100. If we missed the 15-minute window, the score for that ticket was 0. There were a total of 10 things we had to hit, including how long the ticket was open before we marked it as complete. If the total score for the week was above 90, we each received a $100 bonus. I saw major problems with this bonus system and I shared my concerns with the owner. He got very annoyed with me and said just hit the KPIs. Cue the malicious compliance. We all figured out pretty quickly how to game the KPI system. We could acknowledge a ticket in the system but it didn't check if we had actually called the client. We would just email and mark the ticket as reached out to the client. A big issue is that sometimes a client would put in a low priority ticket and ask that we schedule it for some time the following week, but that would make us miss our KPI. So we would start hounding the client to schedule it sooner, and if they were not available, we would simply close the ticket. We quickly learned to hit our KPIs and start getting a bonus every week, however, it caused our customer service to drop, which is exactly what I had warned the owner of. During the previous 2 years, we had never had a complaint about our service, but now there were multiple complaints every week. This whole process added a ton of stress to us, as we all started to fight when someone missed a KPI and we all started to work late on Fridays to try and get in those last few numbers. After 2 months the owner finally realized he had made a mistake. He removed the bonus system, without giving us a raise, and asked us to go back to how things were. At this point, I was so stressed I had already started looking for another job, and we had lost 2 clients. I was the first to put in my 2 weeks notice, but before I left the other 3 techs had all put in notice as well. The last I heard, the company had lost over half its clients and the owner had to bring in several new techs, paying them over 20% more than I had asked for my raise. TLDR, instead of giving a raise, the boss gave us a bonus for hitting KPIs, even though that caused our customer service to drop, nearly costing him his businesses. I hope you enjoy tripping over my computer, by user Lexa_pro_ho. I posted this as part of a comment in the nursing sub, but I think it might fit here too. Nurses for the most part, use a rolling computer that we call a WOW, workstation on wheels. Normal shifts are 0700 to 1900, or 1900 to 0700. I worked at 1300 to 0100. Every day when I would come in, there would be a WOW pushed off to the side that didn't work for some reason that was saved for me but no one had called IT for. Our IT was great, they'd come down within half an hour unless they had a hospital-wide calamity. But they don't magically know that WOW is down unless you call them. So every day, I would come in, drag said WOW into the nurse's station and call IT. It would usually take me 20 to 30 minutes to start working because I couldn't see any charts. My shitty boss threatened to write me up for taking too long. I pointed out that I was on the phone with IT, she did nothing but still complained it took me too long to start working. You got it, Karen. I'd come in, push the offending WOW into her office, that was so small the door would hit the chairs in front of her desk, and leave it. I'd be on the floor at 1300. I wouldn't take a patient assignment, I'd just help everyone else with their tasks. Starting IVs, wound care, splints, etc. Within a week, we had 3 new WOWs, that we were told we didn't have the budget for, and a note about how the entire shift would be written up if she found a broken one without an IT ticket. She was let go for many reasons after a year on the job. We did not miss her. Question my production, by user TightSun8814. I work at a company that has a production quota each day. Some days the system is very slow and it is hard to hit that quota. If there are system issues we email the team lead, TL, let them know what is going on. But normally only if the delay is 10 minutes or more. This particular day, I got an email, why is your production low? When I explained, I was told to pick up the pace or let him know about system issues. I sent an email every time my system had a lag or was spinning longer than normal. At the end of the day, TLSD to quit emailing unless it was a 15 minutes delay. Never asked about production again. Promise kept, heavy check mark, by user Shepherd's TLDR and malicious compliance spelled out in the comments because my first post was removed due to not containing MC. My sister, Jen, married right out of college and had 5 kids with her husband, Chris, over the next 8 years. He preferred that she stay home with the kids. She wanted to work, but accepted that life took her in a different direction. She cared for the house and kids and he worked long hours to comfortably support the family. Chris's employer held a black tie dinner/event annually until 2020. Chris always attended alone, insisting that Jen needed to stay home to take care of the kids. The employer resumed the black tie events last year. My nieces and nephews then ranged from 7 to 16 years old and could stay by themselves a few hours, but Jen asked me to pick up her daughter from an activity and help with dinner on the night of the event. No problem. Jen told Chris she had everything arranged for the kids and she was excited to go to the event. Chris said he'd rather go alone because she had put on some weight and wouldn't be able to lose it in time to look good at a formal event, but they can go the next year if she tries to get back into shape. My sister called me in tears to cancel our plans. She was shocked that Chris didn't want to be seen with her. I'm not shaming anyone for their weight, but Chris has to be bordering on clinically obese, and blamed the extra weight on work stress. Meanwhile, my sister was 6 pounds overweight, according to the BMI chart, and she's a natural beauty. Chris wanted her to lose 30 to 40 pounds to look good enough in formal attire. Jen politely declined my offer to castrate Chris and asked that I not discuss this with our family. I reluctantly agreed, but suggested marriage counseling because nothing about that was acceptable. Jen promised Chris that she would lose weight and attend the next year's event. She made an effort to eat healthier and worked out nightly after the kids were settled. She said Chris was impressed with her determination and loved that she was taking his advice. At our family gatherings, he was more affectionate with her and bragged that she had been losing weight and trying to look her best for him. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. About 6 months later, the same week that Jen had reached her personal weight loss goal, she took her kids to our parents' house and quietly filed for divorce. I later found out that Chris had refused to entertain even a conversation about marriage counseling, berated Jen in front of the kids, accused her of having affairs in the limited alone time she had to run errands for the family or get a haircut, and privately and publicly often joked that she was stuck with him because no one else would want an unskilled, unemployed 40-something mother of 5. Apparently, his demand of weight loss was the straw that broke the camel's back. Jen is now employed at a job she enjoys and spends tons of quality time with her kids. Chris sees them about one weekend a month because his work is too demanding to take care of the younger kids alone more frequently. The older two don't go to his house anymore because they say he leaves them to care for their younger siblings. This past weekend, Jen fulfilled her initial promise to Chris that she would lose weight and attend the next black tie event, but not with him. She went with a longtime friend, who works for the same organization as Chris. She wore a beautiful gown, and looked stunning. Chris started a conversation with her, during which he put his arm around her waist and tried to physically pull her away from her date. In front of his colleagues, she updated him on the recent accomplishments of their older children, whom he had not seen or spoken with in more than 2 months. He awkwardly left shortly afterward, reportedly red-faced. As it turns out, many people want a 40-something mom of 5, a successful man who was Jen's high school sweetheart, a good employer who values her ability to multitask, fine-tuned by years of being a dedicated mom to active kids, and her children, who are generally happy that she left their pompous twat waffle of a father.